G'day PokePals, Useful, and I'm back with you again, and welcome to another league. Yeah, so this is what I've been basically doing all this time, anywhere I've been, other than being depressed and sick and whatnot. Awkward. Anyway, this is basically another league that me and some of the PokePals boys are a part of. So definitely go check it out. I think there's a website for it. I might drop it in the description for you guys to suss. But basically, this is a bit different to the PPWC and the PFC. It doesn't follow the UCL kind of drafting format. This one actually follows the GBA drafting format, following Season 5, although we didn't have any franchise mons, obviously, because it's all our first seasons. So yeah, very intimidating teams. Obviously, like, you know me, Tampa Bay Frogadiers represent. Looking forward to a good year. We'll see how it goes, and I'll kind of try and break down everything. So basically, for those of you who don't know how the GBA kind of format works, basically we all get 12 picks in the entire thing, and we have to get a certain amount of mons with a certain amount of points. So to put it in perspective, there are 5 tiers that basically develop mons. So tier 1 is like the best of the best, that is worth 180 points. Then you got tier 2, which is worth 120, tier 3 is 100, tier 4 is 60, and tier 5 is 40. Now, in regards to these picks, you had to at least get 1 from tier 1, 1 from tier 2, 2 from tier 3, 1 from tier 4, 1 from tier 5, and a mega. So there's 6 of your picks out of the way, and that basically cost you, I think the maths was, it cost you about 600 points. So it's an average of 100 points per pick. So there's 600 of your total, which is I think 1,180 points, out the window. So then you're left with 580 points to basically pick up another 6 mons, which can be pretty tricky, but you know what, I think I drafted okay, I think everybody drafted okay, and I'm basically here to recap here what everybody drafted. Obviously they might do it on their own channels, but I'm basically just going to give you a general overview, and as always I will give you my favourite pick, the best offensive, best defensive, MVP, and the dark horse, as well as probably the pick that maybe they shouldn't have got, and is one they can question redrafting in the future. So we're going to kick things off with the creator of this here tournament, the Miami Mudkips, the Mudkipian Emperor. He had first pick of the entire draft, and he went with Scizor. It's not a bad pick. Scizor is fantastic in this format. I'm not going to deny him of that. I think though, when you look through at the other options that he could have possibly picked up, I think that maybe he could have picked a better Pokemon. Even Mega Scizor in that situation, I think, would have been a better choice. But you know what? I'm not going to argue with his logic. Obviously, he's picked it for a reason, so I'm going to back him with that. Looking at his team, though, it is very interesting. I want to say his best offensive one is going to be Mega Garchomp. That thing is scary good. I think it has the same base attack as Kieran Black, but a lot more bulk and a better typing, honestly, than Kieran Black. Although Ice is fantastic as an offensive typing, it can be very weak to Stealth Rocks. Garchomp isn't, and it is weak to Ice, but he does have coverage like Scizor and Rotom Heat to deal with it. I think his best defensive mon is probably going to be Rotom Heat, because frankly, looking at his entire team, it's like the only defensive mon I can really see. Steelix, I guess, can be defensive, but other than that, he hasn't really picked a lot of walls. I guess Dragalge can be classified as one, but I really wouldn't. I think that Rotom Heat will be very solid for him. It actually pairs really nicely with Megachomp, with Megachomp's only real weaknesses being the Dragon and the Ice, which Rotom Heat and Steelix going to deal with. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. The Dark Horse pick for us, I'm going to say it's Gardevoir. I think regular form Gardevoir is still very terrifying, because of course it does get it can get synchronized, and it does get Trace, and Trace can be a really groovy ability to use in this format. For example, you go up against like the Slowbro or a Slowking, and you're able to get Regenerator. That can be really handy for you. You can grab Hitmontop's Intimidate, you can grab Landorus Incarnate's Intimidate, or Landorus Therian's Intimidate, or Landorus Incarnate's Sheer Force. So it can be very good. And also, if somebody brought Exca, you can trace the Sandrush and actually outspeed it if you're timid. So a lot of offensive possibilities, and I like that about it. I'm going to say his worst pick out of the lot. For being honest, I'm going to say Liepard, just because he already had Zoroark, which is a fantastic utility mon, and I think maybe he could have spent the 180 points that he had left still on a better Pokemon. Like, I think you can just invest in a tier 1 now, and I would just invest in a better wall, man. If I was you and you get the chance to redraft when it gets to free agency, I think you definitely need another wall because it's looking a little bit weak down there. I feel like my voice sounds like really deep and Australian right now when normally it doesn't sound like this, and it makes me just sound like more of a man. I like it. Anyway, moving on to the Windsor Weaviles. So this was an interesting one. This is also, I think we call him, I can't remember his actual name. Is it Alex? Might be Alex, I can't remember. Anyway, he has some very, very, very scary mons. Just to clarify, he has Landorus Therian. Don't know why it just says Landorus there, but whatever. I'm going to say that my favorite pick that he was able to get, to be honest, probably my favorite pick that he did get was Weavile. I think Weavile in this format is ridiculous. I will say it's going to be his best offensive mon too, because it has a very good typing and it should be able to put in a lot of work for him in this kind of format. And he's actually brought in Hitmontop as well to deal with those pesky rocks, and he has really good resists to rock types and fighting types and fire types, so Weavile isn't really too threatened. Defensively speaking, his best probably defensive Pokemon is either Sylveon or Mega Venusaur. Both of them pair quite nicely together, and I think they will make a very solid core for his team. Probably maybe going to give the edge to Mega Venusaur. I think in this format it is a very tough mon to break down, and so it was a very smart pickup for him. The Dark Horse pick, I really want to say that it's going to be Druddigon. I think everybody does underrate Druddigon defensively, like we in the PPWC and all that jazz. We don't really underrate it, we know what it can do, but I think a lot of people in this format won't really understand how good Druddigon can be as a physical wall with rough skin and rocky helmet, just like a normal Garchomp. So I think it'll be a very good inclusion to his team. Will put in a lot of work. I'm going to say his worst pick is Skuntank, and the reason why I'm going to say that is because he already has a poison type, he already has a dark type, and he already has a way of getting rid of hazards. So Skuntank to me seems a little bit redundant. I think that maybe he could have picked up a better typing in that tier, and I think, you know, if he gets a chance to redraft, I would highly recommend. You are allowed one redraft after the draft is done. I've already taken the liberty of doing mine, but I'll get to that in a second. But I think that, yeah, Skuntank is not looking like being the best pick, in my opinion. Alright, let's get it going. I'm so dead right now. Like, I've been really sick lately, and it's hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's just, not fun. Anyway, me, damn Bay Frogadiers. Yeah, boy. I feel like I drafted okay. Honestly, I probably could have drafted a bit better. A couple of picks that kind of piled up on each other, but I made it look okay in the end. So, first pick, I definitely wanted Slowbro. It's so cheap, so easy. Loved it. Unfortunately, my second pick, which was planning to be a Moongus, got sniped by Aiden of the Manitoba Manaphies. So I had to kind of think on my feet, and I decided to go with Hydreigon. It's a fantastic mod in this format. Honestly, didn't really need to fork out that many points for it, but I think it will put in a ton of work. I then went budget with the Aromatisse and Heliolisk. I think, you know, for their ability in the game, getting both for a total of 100 points was a fantastic bargain. And it allowed me to splash a bit more at the end, especially being able to pick up Cobalion and Nidoqueen, which are both in UU and both fantastic utility mons. I then went budget again and went to Mesprit. I already had Slowbro as a psychic type, but I felt that Mesprit was a really good inclusion because it can be fast, it can set up rocks, it can do some really good shenanigans for me. And I felt that it was better than Yuxi. Not as good as Azelf, but I think it was better than Yuxi in this kind of format. I then decided to get a pick that nobody was really happy with, which is Blissey. I honestly just got Blissey because I had Slowbro and I had Aromatisse and all that, but I really needed some better bulk on the special side, and Blissey kind of filled the void for me. It is a bit of a bitch pick, I'm not going to lie, but you know, it will put in the work, and I'm sure, as you've seen me do in the past, I can use this Blissey very creatively. Fingers crossed. Next up, I decided to go with Tangrowth. The reason I went with Tangrowth is because I couldn't get a Moongus, and I'd already picked up a Poison type in Nidoqueen, so it just fit the team really nicely. Made a Regenerator call with Slowbro, which was great. Obviously, knockoff is a Wario, but then again, I have Aromatisse plus Cobalion, which can definitely just deal with those knockoffs. I felt that Tangrowth was a fantastic fit for the team. Initially, my pick 10 was Tentacruel, because I needed a spinner. I didn't realize that somebody had actually redrafted Donphan, and so I was able to just... Jesus, pardon me, I'll probably mute that out. I was actually able to pick up Donphan. I haven't re-edited it because I didn't do the screen or whatever, but I did pick up Donphan there. I think Donphan was a better fit for my team over Tentacruel because I already had Slowbro as a main water type, and I already had Nidoqueen as a main poison type, and I wasn't too fast having 2 ground types when I had plenty of switch-ins to the water types that are in this tournament this season. So it wasn't as big of a deal for me per se, and it really helped for then me being able to pick up my last pick. Now, I really wanted the core of Arcanine and Megaladios at the end. Unfortunately, Arcanine got just sniped beforehand, and that was like brutal. I couldn't believe it. It was like a pick just before me. I thought I was going to be able to get away with it. Unfortunately, freaking my first round opponent, Adam of the Dallas Darkrai, he kind of stole that one from me, so a little bit peeved, but you know what? These things happen. And, you know, kudos to him for getting it. It's a good Pokemon. So I ended up going with Megazard X because it's a freaking destroyer. I'm very, very excited to use it in this format because I know how much work you can put in, and we'll see what it can do. Anyway, my favorite pick that I got this season, I'm honestly going to say Mesprit. I feel like it has a lot of potential, and I really want to see what it can do. I'm going to say my best offensive mod has to be Megazard X. Its ability to just crush teams is pretty phenomenal. Like, for example, my first match against Adam, he doesn't really have a counter other than Quagsire. So all I gotta do is just bop down Quag or just weaken it over time, and I basically just DD up a couple of times with Megazard and win. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, it's definitely something I want to keep an eye on. Best defensive mod, I'm probably gonna be going with Slowbro here, just because I find that Slowbro in this format is very, very solid and can deal with a lot that my opponent wants to throw at me. So it's gonna be a very important member of the team. I want to say that my best, my dark horse of the team, that's a tricky one. I really want to say that my dark horse of the team this season actually is going to be probably Nidoqueen. I think people rest on Nidoqueen a little bit too much. It can actually be a very good mon. For example, like I said, you look at my opponent's team, and again, there isn't really that much because like everything that switches on Nidoqueen Earth Power just gets blown back by Sludge Wave or Ice Beam. So Nidoqueen is very, very threatening, and also its ability to set up rocks and be defensive is fantastic as well. So definitely want to be as creative as I can with Nidoqueen this season. I think my worst pick, that is a really tough question to answer, if I'm being honest. I really do like my team. I feel like I do have enough defense. If I was going to say a pick that I wasn't overly happy with, gee, that's tough. I would have to say maybe the Donphan. If I was able to pick up something, like, I really wanted to get Extra Drill and Megazard X, but I just didn't have the points, and I probably could have gone budget, and instead of Blissey, I could have gone all Dino at that time, but I think somebody else snapped it earlier on, so it was just, like, not worth it. And just, I really wish, like, Donphan is still great, and pairs well with the team, but I'm going to rely on it a lot to spin. Like, not all of my opponents have access to rocks. Like, for example, the Mudkips only have 2 Pokemon in the team that can set up rocks effectively. The Weaviles have, I think, 2, 3. My first round opponents have tons. So I'm going to be relying on Donphan a lot, which can be a good thing, but also can be a bad thing. It's not the most reliable spinner. So I really wish I could have picked up a Defogger maybe, but unfortunately didn't have the points, and I couldn't. All the rest of them were taken, so that was just sloppiness on my part. And I couldn't really figure out a full strategy. And yeah, I've talked too much about my team, to be honest. Let's move on. Let's just try and smash yours because I really need to sleep. I'm wrecked, bro. Anyway, next up we have the Dallas Darkrai. That is Adam. Not the Adam that you're thinking of. The Bees Knees, a different Adam. He had a really cool team. I do like his team, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think that my favorite pick that he did end up getting is Quagsire. I think it's super underrated at 40 points in this competition. Definitely is a fantastic thing. With Unaware, it is very, very underrated. Especially like against a team like me, where I have my Megazard X, and obviously Megazard X can set up on the Quagsire, but can't do shit to it because of Unaware, so that's unfortunate for me. I think that his best offensive pick is Raikou. I would say Mega Galay, but I think Raikou in this format is just too good, which is a little bit frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. It is a bit too good in this format, unfortunately. But you know what, that's just how it is, and I think that, you know, it's a very strong mod in general. Its ability to be sub-Carmine and all these other shenanigans is pretty cool, and I think he's going to use it really well this season. I think his best defensive mon, honestly, is probably going to be Florges. I think it pairs phenomenally with Registeel, and the ability to pass wishes and aromatherapy and all that is going to be really crucial for him. I think his dark horse this season is genuinely just going to be Alakazam. I think a lot of people are going to sleep on it thinking, you know, Zam is in tier 2, it's not that strong obviously, but he can run Sash, Life Orb, Carmine, some ridiculous sets, and can be a very scary mod to deal with. His worst pick, see that's a tricky one. I think the thing that's jumping out to me might be Quillfish. Although it is a fantastic Pokemon defensively, for those points you could have picked up Weezing a bit earlier on. And I think that would have added a bit more balance to the team. Having another way of dealing with ground types would have been really nice. So, food for thought there maybe, Adam, but I do like your team, bro. Alright, moving on. We're almost halfway through. Alright, because I'm just wrecked. Okay, we got the Amphield, Infernape, Will, Iammonkeyman. He's normally linked in the description, so don't give me hate. He has a really... He said to me, like, we were chatting after the draft and everything, and he was so happy with his draft. Like, he said he's drafted a lot of times in the past, and this is probably the best one that he's had. And I can't blame him for feeling that way. He has drafted phenomenally well. I think his best pick overall would be Vaporeon. There's a reason Jack always wants to pick it really early on, is because it is fantastic at what it does. And that's the thing at the end of the day, is that Vaporeon is a fantastic wish passer. And I think the big thing is that, like Umbreon, it has Baton Pass. And that's a big seller for me, is its ability to do Baton Pass and be able to pass over like boosts and wishes is the big thing. I think that his best offensive mon is going to be Hawlucha. I really want to see him utilize Hawlucha well this season. I think he's the kind of person that can do it. You need to think outside the box for this mon. I think he definitely has the capability to do that, and I really want to see him be really creative with what he can do with that mon. I'm very excited to see the ideas that he comes up with, because it can be a Pokemon that can just sweep teams very, very easily. I want to say that his best defensive mon has to be Zap. Zapdos is really good in this format. There's a reason it costs 180 points. It is a phenomenally good defensive mon, pairing great with actually his first 3 mons as a solid defensive core, not even factoring in like his Mega and other stuff. So I think it's a very smart and a very good pick by Will this season. His Dark Horse, he would want me to say Mark, but to be honest, I'm really just looking at Garchomp. Garchomp isn't really respected as much in this kind of format, and I have no idea why. Garchomp is a fantastic mon in any format, and I think it doesn't have Dragon Dance, but it still has SD. It can run defensive, offensive. I think it's the most versatile Dragon type in the game. I'm gonna go out there and say it's the most versatile Dragon type in the game. I think that Will has the opportunity now to be very creative with it and use some really good sets to be able to counter his opponent. So I'm very excited for him, and I'm very excited to see what Will can do with this mon this season. Almost there, goddamn. Worst pick. I'm gonna have to say Murkrow, bro. I'm sorry. I really am, because I love Murkrow, but Muck is actually a very solid pick for his team because of its like all-round bulk and whatnot, but Murkrow itself, you know, he has a lot of flying types, and he does have Garchomp, which comes in, but aside from Garchomp, he doesn't really have that much of an answer to electric types. So if Garchomp goes down, like electric types and, you know, rock types and all that can actually cause a bit of an issue for Will's team, so I think that Murkrow maybe could have been a different pick and could have been a bit more balanced for his team. One thing that actually comes to mind could have been even Malamar, because obviously you can run him, Bung, and U-turn and stuff, but he has the Garchomp, he has the Mega Sizzle, he has the Zapdos that can all deal with things like that. Plus Malamar also gave him another solid typing, I feel. But you know, that's just my opinion. I'm just splitting hairs. I think Murkrow's worse than Muck in his team this season. Then we go on to the big hoss. Frickin' Miendoge. The oldest of Nemesises. If you don't know, Jack and I guess are like rivals. He has bested me more than I have bested him. When it comes to this format, I will honestly say I haven't seen a better battler in my experience in this format than Jack. Adam is up there, but I honestly, and this isn't me just like blowing my own horn, but I honestly think I'm better than Adam in this format. And like in general, like Jack and I are pretty done in when it comes to battling. So what happens to me though in this kind of format is that I lack the creativity that Jack can bring, and that's why Jack has beaten me a lot of times in the past. His team is phenomenal yet again. He has drafted exceptionally well with 0 points left at the kitty because, you know, he likes being perfection, but he did draft really well this season. Let's just break down this team. Honestly, the best pick that he picked, in my opinion, had to be Mega Gardevoir. In this format, it is terrifying. I mean, look at my team. I have a Don fan over freaking whatever his name is, but like my switch-ins for Mega Gardevoir are very slim. Like Blissey can come in on a Hyper Voice, but can't come in on a Psyshock. Aromatisse can come in on one, but can't come in on the other. The only thing I have maybe is Special Defensive Slowbro, but nobody runs that. I might have to use my AV Tank Growth or just Pray, because I don't have a resist to Hyper Voice on my team. So, you know, there's that. It is a very terrifying mon to deal with because Fairy plus Psychic is so annoying. Especially a strong Fairy stab that hits on the special side, and then a strong Psychic stab that hits on the physical side. It catches a lot of teams off guard and can just destroy teams, so definitely his best offensive, definitely his best pick overall. Best offensive mon. I'm gonna say it really is Thunderous Incarnate. I think its ability to paralyze as well as just be able to nasty plot and sweep is phenomenal. It is a very strong electric type in this format too, and I think he can utilize it exceptionally well. And I'm very curious to see how he uses it this season. Obviously it can't really be defensive like Zapdos, but it can be an incredibly offensive mon that can create a lot of momentum and dramas for your opponent. So I'm very interested to see how Jack can utilize it this season. When it comes to his best overall defensive mon, I can't go past the Hippo. He might think it's Lantern or Vileplume because he loves that core, but in reality, Hippo is a very, very strong defensive mon, especially in this kind of format. He hasn't actually got anything lined up for like Sand offense, but then again, you don't really need to. He can just run Sand Force, hit Power on the whole time, and still be a very solid mon. I think it's just so defensive and can run Rocks and Whirlwind and stuff, and you know, when paired, like I said, with Lantern and Vileplume, it makes a very, very frustrating core. I think it was a woman. Shout into a dog again. I hate her. Passion. Anyway, Dark Horse of his team. You know, he would really want me to say Blaziken or Kieran. I actually really want to say Ditto. Unfortunately. And the reason why I say unfortunately is because Ditto just ruins my strategy against Jack. You'd think it would be an easy win for good old Verdugo, bringing in Megazard, D-dancing up, and then just continually just sweeping his team. But no, Jack decided to draft a frickin' Ditto. So now, Megazard doesn't beat his team, because Ditto just comes in with a Choice Scarf, takes the boost, and proceeds to just destroy my team. Yay, happy days for Verdugo. So it's a very annoying mon because a lot of people have drafted setup sweepers, and the ability for Ditto just to be basically copy all their stat changes and stuff like, you know, for example, make a Altaria, make a Gyarados, make a Medicham maybe, make a Gallade. There's a lot of times where Ditto can just come in, steal them, and then your opponent has to sack them on, and then try and beat their own Pokemon, which they would never prepare for. So, it is a very momentum-shifting kind of Pokemon, and I think he drafted exceptionally well by getting it. When it comes to his worst pick, I really have to be honest here, and in all honesty, I'm going to say it's Gyarados. The reason why is because I think what Jack should have invested in is a way of dealing with hazards. His team doesn't really care about hazards too much, like Thundurus, Kyurem, Gyarados, they care a little bit, but other than that, the rest of his team is pretty neutral to hazards. But the thing is that, you know, people that might be running Spikes and Stealth Rocks and, you know, all this other crazy stuff could really hurt Jack's team in the long run, and I think him being able to maybe get a Defogger, I think a Defogger would be best for his team, honestly, not a Rapid Spinner. I think picking up one would have been solid for him, but for 120 points there wasn't really that much left to pick up, so I can understand why he didn't, and I don't think it would bother him too much, because obviously not a lot of people are going to be running Spikes this season, but it is definitely something he'll need to watch out for in the future, as well as T-Spikes, although he has the Vileplume, and Vileplume isn't always going to be coming into every single battle for him, so food for thought there. I do think he has a solid team there, but hazards are the only issue, really, that he'll have to face. Moving on, we have... Oh, this guy is Alex. Okay, I got you now. God. We're almost done. This will be done like 40. It'll be like a 40-minute video. I'm calling it right now. We have the Alex of the Toronto Talonflames. This man has, like, now that I look at it, he has a terrifying team. God damn. And he has 100 points in the bank. So effectively, he can upgrade like a Walrein to a tier 2 mon whenever he feels like it. Just because his team wasn't solid enough. I think what he did really well this season was he picked a lot of good cheap mons and used them to his advantage. Well, his best pick, I'm actually going to say Gothitelle, just because you don't really see it in this kind of competition, and for 120 points, I think it's actually a pretty good bargain. I definitely see it being a terrifying Pokemon to go up against. If you're locked into a setup move and they try and catch you doing that, or maybe, you know, you're scarfed into close combat, which is doing nothing to Gothitelle and it's just going to kill you, you know, you got problems, man. So definitely going to be a tough Pokemon for people to possibly play around with. So definitely going to be interesting to see how people play around it and how Alex is able to use it this season. I think his best offensive mod, hands down, is Mega Medicham. That thing is scary. Super scary. Like, oh my, super scary. You can just set up and blow teams back. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got stuff like Slowbro and Robotis to be able to deal with it. But a lot of other people don't really have counters to this Savage. I'll bring it back to the Miami Mudkips, like I was saying. I look at their team and I see no way that they come in and actually stop Mega Medicham. Like, I bet Mega Medicham's high jump he's still doing half to Gardevoir. Even if it's 4 times resistance, I bet it's still doing half. That's how crazy it is. I think his best defensive mon, I really want to say, it's either Heatran or Mandibuzz. I'm going to have to say Heatran. Actually, looking at his team now, defensively wise, it's not as defensively minded as I thought, so maybe it'll be easier to exploit. For coaches this season, we'll have to wait and see. I think Heatran is a very good defensive mon though. Deals a lot of big threats, and forces a lot of teams to run certain moves such as Earthquake or Earth Power or Hidden Power Ground to be able to deal with that beast of a Pokemon. So definitely something we'll have to keep in mind. I think his Dark Horse this season is going to be Dugtrio. I think Gothitel's a fantastic trapper, but I think Dugtrio is also brilliant at what it does. Its ability to trap opponents is phenomenal, and it can catch a lot of important Pokemon on opponents' teams out and end up killing them because of Focus Sash, being able to live any hit they throw and then just killing them with EQ, or the Sucker, or, you know, Stone Edge. It has a lot of possibilities and can be very terrifying to deal with. I'm going to say that his worst pick is Walrein, but then again, with 100 points in the bank, I'm assuming he's going to upgrade it something better, so, you know, just do that, Alex. It'd be great. Next up, we have River of the Rosemelon. Okay, it's Rosemelon. Every time I say it, it sounds like Rosemelon. As if, you know, like you got watermelon. It's like a Rosemelon. I don't know. He drafted a really groovy team this season, actually. It's got a couple of weird mons in it, but, you know, we kind of like weird around here, don't we? I really like the picks of Mew, Teeny, Mega Gyarados, Haxorus. They're really cool. I think his best pick overall has to be Mew. I don't really need to explain why Mew is his best pick, guys, do I? I think you know why. If you've been under a rock in these formats, Mew has basically every move in the game, so why wouldn't that be his best pick? And also, like, nobody else really picked it up in the first round, so it kind of just swept by. There ain't anybody really caring. I think his best offensive mon, though, is going to be Mega Gyarados. I think it's terrifying. Like, speaking as me, especially, I'm really hoping I'm not playing River this season, because my team has absolutely no counter to a Mega Gyarados. Maybe fully defensive Cobalion, maybe fully defensive Tangrowth, but it ain't gonna be Donphan, it ain't gonna be Slowbro, it ain't gonna be a Robotis. Mega Gyarados is terrifying, bro. It's a scary mon to deal with, most definitely. I think his best defensive mon, yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm going to go on a limb and say it's Gastro. I'm going to pick Gastro over Fortress because Fortress isn't that great defensively in this game because a lot of people can just run Flamethrower, Hidden Power, Fire, all that stuff. Whereas Gastro, although they can run the HP Grass, he has a lot of really solid support for it. And Gastro is still fantastic at eating up hits and just being a general nuisance to your opponent. I think that his dark horse pick for his team this season, it's a really tough one, but I feel like Mega could be interesting. Obviously, Compound Eyes, Hypnosis, I think it's Compound Eyes, Hypnosis. So that could be really frustrating for people, plus the speed boost. And Mega's actually decent special attack. Could be even an issue. Bug Stab is a little bit of a weird one to deal with, so if you're not really prepared for it, it can be very, very fatal. Honestly, I think his worst pick is Avalugg. I get why he picked Avalugg, but I'm pretty sure there were better spinners and defoggers such as Claydol and such further up that he could have picked up. And so I think maybe that would have been a smarter pick for him over Avalugg. As I think that, as much as I love Avalugg, as you guys would know from watching my ladder or whatnot, I think in this format it's not that good as a spinner. Definitely not. But that's just my 2 cents. I think he has a very solid team. Alright, 2 teams to go. Let's just get this done. Alright, we got the Fleetwood Farfetchers, Charles, the Faraway Farfetch. What's going on, guys? Faraway Farfetch too. Yeah. This team is interesting. There's a few things I like, there's a few things I don't like, so let me just rattle off what I do like. The fact that he got Landorus Incarnate, Mega Charizard Y, and Kieran Black, plus Mamoswine, makes me want to kill myself. The fact that he has a defensive core of Wheezing, Reuniclus, and Milotic makes me want to kill myself. But the fact that he picked a Cellball and Seeking makes me feel a little bit better about myself. It's going to give and take. Honestly, his best offensive pick, I can't go past Landorus Incarnate. The fact that it's in this league, it is terrifying. Charles drafted a terrifying team. Offensively speaking, oh my god. How do you, I don't know how I'm going to stop this. I have to probably run Hyper Offense to beat him. Truth be told, I probably have to run Hyper Offense if I want to beat him, because this is just ridiculous. He has 1, 2, 3 Pokemon that can basically function as walls, and that's it. I mean, he has a huge weakness then for that factor. But you know what, it doesn't matter, because you can just back it up with the fact that he has ridiculous sweepers and wall breakers. I think his best pick's Lander Y. His most offensive mod has to be Kieran Black. Base 170 attack and base 120 special attack. That's scary shit. I drafted it for a reason in my other league. His best defensive mod is by far Milotic, dealing with a lot of hits. But then again, he really does like defensive mons now that I realise it. I think his underdog pick is definitely going to be Reuniclus. It is a fantastic mod in this format. And his worst pick is obviously Seeking. We all saw that coming, didn't we? That was going to say his worst pick was Seeking. It's either that or a Cellball, because honestly, could have picked up frickin' Escavalier and actually had a decent wall to add to his list, but instead he's, as much as I love Charles as a battler, the problem with his team is Milotic, Reuniclus, and Wheezing don't make your team completely defensive and able to handle every single threat. So he's going to be playing hyper offensive a lot, and so in order to beat him, you're going to have to play hyper offensive. So, be interesting to see how people go with that. Okay. Oh god, my neck hurts. Last team. Freaking bitch of the Manitoba Manaphy's, Aiden. He sniped me like 3 or 4 times in this draft. I ain't even lying. He has a really wacky team though, to be fair. I think his best pick overall is Mega Altaria. Its ability to just break down the metagame is phenomenal. And it packs like a ridiculous ability to run both offensive, defensive, especially offensive. A lot of variety there, and I think that's one of the things that makes it one of the best mons in this format. I think his best offensive mon though is probably Tornadus Therian. It's very versatile as well, and it can run, again, physical, special, and just has a variety of moves that can really break down teams. A close second would probably be Mienshao, to be honest, because of speed. I want to say that his what was I up to? Dark Horse? Dark Horse. Defensive mon. His best defensive mon is probably just going to be Amoonguss, for the fact that it is like his only defensive mon. Pretty much his only defensive mon. Yeah, Miltank, I guess. So his defensive core is effectively like Miltank, Amoonguss, Starmie, Mega Altaria. I'm seeing a common theme between Charles and Aiden's teams here. I think his Dark Horse is probably going to be Espeon. Its ability to Magic Bounce is pretty groovy, plus it has a really nice special attack set and can still Calm Mind Sweep a lot of teams, so I wouldn't underestimate that little kitty. His worst pick. this is a tough one because I have a lot of opinions, but I want to say it's probably Ninetales. I don't really understand why Ninetales is on his team. One, he has a Starmie, so why would he bring Drought Ninetales? Two, he only has one Pokemon that benefits from the sun being up, which is Leavanny. Because who the hell runs Sun Amoongus? No, nobody. And three, he could have picked a lot of better fire types at that time. Like, he had the chance to pick up Rotom Heat at that point. And he had Magneton before that, but Rotom Heat would have been a much better pick at that time. And it would have saved him another 20 points. So then Magneton could have been a tier 2 model as well. I just think that, you know, Aiden falls into the same problem that Charles does. The only difference is that Charles has a lot of really good offensive mons, whereas Aiden's kind of awkwardly caught in between. I think Aiden does have a few really fantastic offensive Pokemon, but he actually has less walls than Charles do. Less prominent walls, is what I'm going to say. I think that will allow his team to be more easily picked apart. That being said, I do think that he still has a very solid team, and the offensive cores that he have are still going to be very effective in breaking teams down, so it might not actually end up being an issue. We'll have to wait and see. If I was going to list who was going to finish where, that's a really tough one. I'm going to say that well, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to say the 6 teams that I think are going to move on to the playoffs. So, they're basically the top 6. Honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not going to be, like, favoriting my boys from PokePals, because I want to be perfectly honest with you. I think River's going to be in there. I think Jack's going to be in there. I think I will probably be able to squeeze my way in there. I think the Windsor Weaviles could find their way in there. And I think then the last few spots are really up for grabs. I want to say that it's probably going to be Will and Charles, which means that the Mudkips, the Manaphies, the Darkrai's, and the Talonflames will miss out. But that's only on the basis of what I can see on paper. Here's what I love about this kind of competition, guys, is on paper, you can make a lot of decisions about a lot of people, but it's going to be completely different when you see it when they're actually battling out there, and that's going to be the big thing. So what I'm going to be doing every week, like I do with all the tournaments that I'm in, I'm going to pile up all the replays from all the matches, and I'm then going to upload them in a recap series, not including my own, as I will probably do a personal recap of my own battle, but I'll basically upload the rest of the matches in that round, and then also try and update standings and whatnot, so you're kind of aware of what's going on. Basically, in this league, everybody's going to be in the same division together, but it's going to be GBA format style when it comes to battling. So I'm going to be battling, I think, Jack twice. I think I battled Adam twice. You know, it doesn't mean I'm going to battle everybody, and I might have to face certain people in the playoffs, such as, you know, Aiden. So that's going to be kind of cool. But we'll see how it goes. I'm very excited for this league. I want you guys to answer some questions. Who do you think has the best team? Who do you think has the worst team? Who do you think has the best chance of winning this competition? Because this is the thing. A person might not have the best team, but that doesn't mean they can't win the entire season. And so I kind of want you guys to say maybe what you think your top 6 will be. And the thing is that although it's a top 6, it could end up being then, like, you know, a top 2. And it's just your opinion. I'd love to hear it. Also, what I really appreciate is if you guys could drop in the comments some other stuff, like what you'd like to see in PokePals in the future. Obviously, we've got these 3 tournaments rocking, which will be sweet. The other thing I'm looking to do is trying to revamp the card lock and the Soul Link, as well as trying to get some more Showdown uploads going, because I seem to enjoy those. I might do some more TCG if you guys are keen. It just depends on what you guys feel about the TCG, whether you want to watch any more of that. And I might also just do some other stuff, but I need to know what you guys want to see. So that's the thing. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Keep on being PokePals. Let's have an awesome season in the OKOC. I didn't tell you what the name of the league was, but it's the official Knockout Constitution, otherwise known as OKOC. Yeah. It's View29, signing out.